how do you know that you're right? How do you know that all the allegations that you're making are true?
How do I know that they're true? Well, we showed you guys what was happening, and then you guys can go ahead and make your own analysis.
We're coming so we can make our own analysis. Are you 100% sure you're true?
Yeah, I am 100% sure I'm true.
That was conservative YouTuber Nick Shirley. His viral video where he's going door to door at daycares in the Minneapolis area and saying that he's uncovering massive amounts of fraud at Somali-run daycares has exploded on social media. Elon Musk retweeted the video. J.D. Vance retweeted the video. CNN is looking into Shirley's claims. This idea of fraud in Minnesota, though, is not new. In fact, for many, many years, the Department of Justice has been prosecuting cases against dozens of defendants, many of whom are concentrated in the Somali American community here in the Minneapolis area. Some of those cases actually began under Biden's DOJ in 2022 for a various list of different types of frauds. And so far, there have been at least 80 people indicted, at least 56 convictions. Attorney General Pam Bondi responded to the Shirley video, as did the FBI Director Kash Patel. Both of them say federal law enforcement has been all over this from the beginning.
Now, that was Nick Shirley. And this guy, he's part of the radical right conservative group. And he's been exposing all of the foolishness that the Somalians been doing over there in Minnesota. Now, they're in Minnesota, they're in Seattle, Washington, they're in Columbus, Ohio. They're all over the country. They've been running their network and the corruption ring across America. Now, does this mean that it's all Somalians? No. Right? Every group has their degenerate class. Every group has good people. I'm sure that there's some really good people in the Somalia community. Right? I'm not here to just disparage the whole community, but we also are here to call out the corruption. Right? And there's been widespread corruption across America, and they went out to Minnesota where they can hide, not in these big cities, and they done woke up these W folks. And these W folks are calling them out and holding them accountable for fraud, right? But they don't care. They're online doing stuff like this.
I'm a Minnesota Somalian. Of course I live in a big house funded by United States taxpayers.
I'm a Minnesota Somalian. Of course we have the most luxurious cars.
I'm Minnesota Somali. I'm camping border. Hi.
I'm a Minnesota Somalian. Of course I married my sister to come here.
I'm a Minnesota Somalian. Of course I tell the government I feed 3,000 kids for no reason. Did you get the bill yet?
Hey, of course I'm a Minnesota Somalian. Of course we live in Minneapolis.
I'm a Minnesota Somalian. Of course I got 12 siblings. I don't even know half of their names.
I'm a Minnesota Somali. Of course Somalia was promised us 3,000 years ago.
Hi, Trump. I'm back so much.
So this Nick Shirley guy, he has the president speaking on his videos. I mean, he's done videos that went viral that reached up to 8 million people watching these videos. You had J.D. Vance and a lot of people from the radical right is commenting on these videos, but then you have copycats coming out, right? You have other W folks in Seattle, in Columbus, in Minnesota. They're now starting to do their investigative reports on what's going on in Minnesota at these places where Somalis got funding, right? I don't think that the Somalis understood the severity of what was coming their way when this thing then went viral all across America. This is what's happening.
Here in Minnesota, a local realtor reached out to me to tell me about another way that Somalians are scamming Minnesotans out of their taxpayer dollars. In her community alone, Somalians have bought up over 455 homes. They buy these homes, claiming they're turning these homes into home health care centers. She says the way we know Somalians have bought these homes is because all of a sudden, extremely nice cars start showing up. Mercedes, BMWs, the nicest cars are parked in the driveway. And she said by law, the state will not come out and inspect these homes and make sure these homes even have clients living in these homes. She also said, as a realtor, she cannot disclose to people wanting to buy homes in this neighborhood that Somalians have bought that home and they're using that as a home health care center. She said these homes can even take people in who've just been released from jail, and the neighborhood does not need to know about this. But she says many of these homes do not even have clients in them. But the state is writing them checks every month for the clients that the Somalians say are in these homes, and these Somalians are making millions of dollars off of these homes every year. The Somalians have figured out exactly the perfect plan as to how to scam Minnesota taxpayers out of their money. They are banking on this, making millions of dollars, and the government here in Minnesota is too lazy to go and check it out and to see if there's even clients living in these homes. The fraud in Minnesota is so deep.
So they've been running all kinds of scams, right? They've been running not just real estate scams, Medicare scams, daycare scams, nonprofits. They've been running all kinds of stuff, and they don't care. They've been just flossing, like riding around in business mansions, all the latest fashion clothes. They've been doing their thing. They've been having creating trucking companies, moving their network all up and down and around America. And they've been doing it. They've been going to these small towns where they can hide under the wraps, right? Now, some of them was getting indicted, but for the most part, they was running a whole countrywide ring. And now there's been links of them funneling money back to terrorist groups in Africa, right? Now, I don't know how true that is, but where there's smoke, there's fire, right? But there was other people uncovering this.
As part of its social services, Minnesota offers something called non-emergency medical transportation. This is to take the elderly or disadvantaged to any type of therapy, medical or dental, anything, probably even yoga. Research by Nick Shirley shows that there are 1,020 registered companies providing this service. More than 800 are Somali owned. Problem is, there's no means to check or verify if any actual rides are being provided. These companies simply send the government an invoice and receive a check for payment. How many of our taxpayer dollars do you think are going down this fraudulent rat hole?
So this old man is talking about the scam, how they scamming with the elderly, right? And how, now mind you, had one that they said they was running daycares, but they kept the windows dark and you couldn't see inside. They had no children in there. This one, they're getting money for transportation, but they're not moving nobody around. And they've been able to do this, but this is the thing, I want y'all to peep game, right? The Democrats understood this, but the Democrats had a certain agenda that they was pushing. So they allowed this thing to happen under their watch, but they also allowing the Republicans to be the bad guys, right? They allowing the Republicans to come in and do their dirty work to undo all the things that they allowed to happen. So now when the election come, they can be looked at in a positive light, right? Because people are angry at the Republicans for coming in to undo what the old regime was allowing to happen. Because remember, these groups can't do anything without some W folks signing off on it. There's some W folks that got a lot of kickbacks from what these Somalians were doing. There's a lot of money that went to a lot of nonprofits, a lot of these W folks organizations that the Dems were benefiting from. So now a new regime come in and they say, yo, you can't do that up under this regime. Nah, we ain't riding like that. So now there's a problem, right? But there was this Arab, because remember, a lot of Somalis don't consider themselves black, only the Bantu ones, right? The sub-Saharan Bantus. A lot of them don't consider themselves black. Now watch this, right? Let me say this too, for people who say, well, I'm not black, I'm this. I'm not black, I'm Dominican. I'm not black, I'm this. Right, you're right, you are Dominican. That's your nationality. You are Somali. But we know we go around the world and you have the light races and the dark races, right? You might not consider yourself black, but they see you all as black. And they treat you all as black, right? We know how those pale Arabs treat the darker races. They treat you like a black person. So when you come and say, I ain't no black, we already know where you're going with that. We're not stupid. We're not telling you you can't be Somali or Dominican. That would be disrespectful of us. But we know, based in the world, what you are. So let's stop playing these games. But this woman, she called out those Arabs and the other groups and was telling black Americans, don't be their friends. Don't be around these people. They don't like you. She was calling out her own community and giving us fair warning. Check it out.
Before any of you black Americans go keeping for Indians, Arabs, or any of these other groups, you'll have to ask yourself, how do you think they would treat you in their country? If you were in their country, how would they treat you? And the answer is they probably would treat you like you're a no-class citizen, because that's the reality when you go to their country. Yet they come over here, they get everything handed to them, right? You go into their business, they act like some of them are outright disrespectful, but some of them are phony, right? And you should ask them, how do people like me, and put them on the spot, how do people like me get treated in your country? And they'll lie. Maybe the young ones won't lie, but they'll definitely lie. So you shouldn't be caping for them. You shouldn't be virtue signaling for them, because these people don't like you. They hate you. They're inherently anti-black. The Haji Mart owners, the motel owners, the gas station owners, they are inherently anti-black, and they are at war with you. Here, they are making moves to subvert you and your children for generations to come. So when these white people want to get them to the country, you sit your ass back and let them white boys do God's work. Huh? Let them do God's work. Let them get them to these Arabs, these Indians, these Palestinians, all of them, every last one of them, because they're all anti-black and they're all posers. Ask the Palestinians, the yellow-skinned Palestinians, how they treat the brown-skinned Palestinians, the indigenous people of that place, of that land. The real people of Palestine look like me or darker. And you ask them about the caste system they have there before you go raising a flag and take your ass outside and protest them for these Palestinians. You have to go to these people's country and see how they behave, how they really are. They're over here posing, they're over here pretending. You can't trust people, and like I said, they are inherently anti-black. Unless you've been over there, which I have, many times. I've been to different places. I know how these people are. I don't go into their business. I make it my business to find out who owns what. I look up public records to understand who owns, what, so that I'm not putting my money anywhere these sites are. So understand it. Your energy belongs in your community, uplifting your people, raising your children properly, doing everything you need to do to build community in your family.
And see, that's a woman telling the truth, right? She's there and she's letting us know how they view us. And she's telling us, yo, you need to worry about your community, get your community together. Stop with all this black and brown stuff and thinking that you got allies. And they come here to make money. They don't care nothing about your plight. They're not connected to your story. They don't care. So if y'all don't listen to me, at least listen to another immigrant that's telling you, right? That's telling you. She ain't got no agenda. She's telling you what it is, right? So, man, listen, and a lot of them show it to you, right? But there was some sisters that live out there in Minnesota and Columbus and places like that, and they're telling you also what's been going on, because everybody's been knowing this for a very long time, but it's been going on deaf ears because the Democrats had their own agenda with the immigration and allowing these groups to flourish here in America for their own agenda to create different voting blocks to make us less powerful, right? And we've been voting, pushing against our own best interests. Dr. Carl Anderson told us this. These other groups was going, man, listen, I ain't got to get into it. Y'all already know. Check it out.
Here they go spinning the narrative. So apparently these daycare centers that have been charged with allegedly $9 billion in fraud and fake daycare centers and fake healthcare centers, now the narrative that the left media is pushing, Abby Phillips, to be specific, from CNN, is saying that because the Somali community has been under attack, that they were afraid to open the door, and that Nick Shirley was pounding on the door. They didn't know who he was, and he was just pounding on the door saying, open the door, and they were afraid, and that's why they didn't open the door. Forget the fact that there were no kids in these centers and that the windows were blacked out. They're saying that these daycare center people who work there were not opening the door because there was some man out there banging on it saying, open the door. They literally think that the American public are now going to not see what we've seen, not pay attention to what we've heard and read and all of the data and facts and we're not supposed to think that any of that is true. We're supposed to now believe that these so-called daycare workers were afraid to open the door because some man was banging on the door.
If y'all look at the comments for the people that's talking about the Medicare fraud that is happening amongst the Somalians are in a comment like, you guys are jealous, you guys are just mad, you guys are poor, you guys are just jealous of us. Let me let you, Americans are paying $250, $300 child care for their children to go to daycare. We're giving away millions and millions and millions and millions of daycare funding to daycares that don't exist. Like, that's kind of, people who are paying the taxes can't even catch a break for daycare costs, and we're giving away millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to daycares that don't really even exist, for children that don't even go to daycare. They're in the public school system. Okay. There's this pushback that's happening in Minnesota amongst the politicians because the politicians are the ones that's signing off on these grants. And y'all want to understand this. The one way to become a millionaire for sure in this country is to own a nonprofit organization. But let's rewind really quickly. These people who write the grant proposals, they are educated liberals and Democrats. I promise you that they are. And they approach specific people in the community and say, I can write you a grant. Make sure that this grant says everything that it needs to say for it to get approved for a lot of money. And all you have to do is give me 10% of it. We don't care what you do. And we're going to make sure you have this license and this number filed. And we're going to make sure you can get this funding. But make sure that you give me 10% of it. That's why these politicians are pushing back. And then Somalians are like, oh, you guys are just jealous and mad. Yeah, people are going to work and doing everything the right way, struggling, but people can come into this country and just live luxurious and still benefit from government funding while defrauding the system.
So I tell you, we got to start really having a conversation, man, in the house, on the job, at the gym, at the water cooler, going forward, man, 2030, 2035. We ain't got no friends, man. What is the black community, foundational black American communities in America? What is black Chicago going to look like by 2040? What is black Philadelphia going to look like by 2040? Black Memphis, right? These black cities. Black Newark, New Jersey, right? Black Charlotte, North Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, Atlanta, right? All of these places, right? What is it going to look like by 2040 if we keep allowing these things to go the way that they're going, right? Because we're going against our own special interests. We're going around talking about this POC, this people of color stuff. We got our churches and all these so-called black leaders. They're speaking against our interests. While you don't see these other groups talking this fighting with us or for us, they fight for their specific group and what's for their people, as they should. I'm not even mad at them for that. I'm not even mad at the Caribbeans coming and setting up shop for their people. They're doing what they're supposed to do. The question is, are we doing what we're supposed to do? That's the question. So we can articulate and get mad that when they come here, they speak against our reparations. They don't ally with us. What are we supposed to be doing to combat that? Outside of just talking, but physically doing things in the communities that we come from. What are we doing to combat that? Huh? These are things that we got to do because they're letting us know where they stand, what position they're taking. They're letting us know. But y'all gotta let me know what y'all think, man. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV, leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.